Tech sales campaigns can be complex and require a nuanced approach, especially when it comes to targeting different stakeholders in an organization. Two critical stakeholders that we talked about earlier to consider are C-level executives and influencers, as they have different priorities, roles, and levels of influence when it comes to purchasing decisions. In this section, we will explore the differences between talking to C-levels and influencers in tech sales campaigns and how to tailor your approach to maximize your chances of success. C-level executives are senior executives with the highest level of decision-making authority within an organization. They are typically responsible for setting the overall strategic direction of the company, and their decisions can have a significant impact on the organization's bottom line. Example of C-level executives include CEO, CTO, CIO, CFO, and COO. When it comes to tech sales campaigns, C-level executives tend to be highly influential in the decision-making process. They are typically the ones who have the final say on whether or not to purchase a particular product or service. C-level executives tend to prioritize high-level strategic objectives such as improving the organization's overall efficiency, reducing costs, or increasing revenue. They are also often concerned with risk management and ensuring that any new technology solution aligns with the company's overall strategic direction. When talking to C-level executives, it's essential to focus on your business outcomes that your product or service can deliver. You should demonstrate a deep understanding of their business and industry and how your solution can help them achieve their strategic goals. You should also be able to articulate the ROI of your solution, including how it will impact their bottom line. Finally, you should be able to address any concerns they may have around risk management and ensure that your solution aligns with their overall strategic direction. Tailoring your approach to influencers. Influencers are individuals who have the ability to influence the purchasing decision, but may not have final decision-making authority. Influencers can include individuals in roles such as IT managers, project managers, or department heads. Influencers tend to be more focused on tactical implementation of technology solutions and are often responsible for ensuring that new solutions integrate with existing systems and processes. When it comes to tech sales campaigns, influencers can be highly influential in the decision-making process, as they are often responsible for evaluating potential solutions and making recommendations to C-level executives. Influencers tend to prioritize factors such as ease of use, integration with existing systems, and compatibility with existing workflows. They are also often concerned with how your solution will impact their day-to-day operations and whether it will require significant changes to their current processes. When talking to influencers, it's essential to focus on the technical aspects of your solution. You should be able to demonstrate how your solution can integrate with their existing system and processes and show how it can help streamline their workflows. You should also be able to address any concerns they have around implementation and ensure that your solution aligns with their existing workflows. When running a tech sales campaign, it's essential to balance your approach when targeting both C-level executives and influencers. You need to demonstrate a deep understanding of both strategic and tactical aspects of your solution to be able to articulate the benefits to both stakeholders. One effective approach is to start with a high-level conversation with C-level executives where you can focus on the strategic benefits of your solution. Once you have buy-in from C-level executives, you can work with influencers to ensure the solution aligns with their technical requirements and workflows. It's also important to ensure that you are communicating with both stakeholders effectively. C-level executives tend to prefer high-level strategic conversations. Here's some advice I received from one of my first field sales managers at Dell. When talking to C-levels, don't get nervous. They are actually the easiest to talk to. They are simple, like direct questions, and if you take time to prepare your calls with C-levels, you'll be impressed with what a first impression can do for the rest of the sales cycle. Here are a few questions to think about when talking to C-levels. What are your top initiatives right now? Where are you currently? Where do you want to be next year? What obstacles are getting in the way? What's important about getting it done by that date? So before you get on a call with the C-level or big-time decision maker, remember, relax. Keep your questions simple, because their day-to-day is focused on company strategy and have people they work with in the organization, aka influencers, to vet out the actual technology required to make the strategy work. With most C-levels, you really don't need to get technical. You just need to understand their vision and how you can help them get there and add as much value as possible. Recently, I was speaking with the CTO at one of my largest accounts, and I asked very similar questions. And while I will always admit I'm not the most technical, I understand that the CTO is responsible for the technology initiatives within the organization, and he has an immense amount of work on his plate. In our introduction call, I built technical credibility by talking about the software development book I recently read, which showed that I did some homework ahead of time, which I could tell he was very impressed with, and additionally, because I had spoken with influencers to the company prior to our meeting. I knew that his main obstacle was software development over the next year, and I wanted him to trust me as an advisor for the initiative. Knowing this information ahead of time is crucial because once you build credibility, then you can offer value. For myself, I had a lot of questions, but I also understood there had to be some issues within the engineering organization that they recently spun up in India. Again, this is insider information I got from my influencers prior to this call. For this engineering initiative, the time difference was difficult, and there are many technical difficulties in the Indian office being able to access data in the US in a timely manner. And so knowing this and other issues C-levels bring to your plate, you need to figure out how you can creatively solve their problems so you can add value. Knowing this ahead of time, I told the CTO I know an offshore engineering company in Mexico that aligns better geographically to help his team work on projects during US working hours, and I knew the CEO directly and would give him an introduction. The CTO was very impressed and was interested in doing an introduction call to see if there would be alignment for their initiatives. Now, I'm not expecting you to know C-levels at other companies to introduce people, but understand a few things in this situation and in your sales career. Your network is your net worth. And as you cultivate relationships, understand that these relationships can add immense value to other people in your network at any given time. And so take time to take your professional network seriously. Even if you don't know another C-level at another company, do your research and think of ways you can help your C-levels solve their biggest problems so they look at you as a trusted advisor. I've done this multiple times in countless ways, and it's been the reason I've been able to close deals where competitors we were up against were already the incumbent. Now, on the other hand, how do we talk to influencers? There's no one size fits all, but it is important to understand company politics to the best of your ability. How does information and money flow within the organization? Who is the ultimate decision maker? When will this be presented to them? How often does your influencer get projects approved by their decision maker? There are a lot of details that play a paramount role in a sales campaign. The main thing you don't want to do is make your influencer feel insignificant, because they are most likely going to be your champion vouching for you throughout the sales process. There are some creative ways you can message to them throughout the campaign to increase your probability of having a successful campaign and making sure you're qualifying out your deal correctly. Like I talked about earlier with influencers, typically on calls when I'm introducing people to technology, I like to ask, who else on your team typically is involved in the scoping out of new technologies like this? Once they say their names, I encourage them to invite them on a follow-up call so they can learn more about our technology. A few things with this tactic. First, we are in sales, not our influencer. And so we can't fully rely on them to sell it to our ultimate champion who signs off on the decisions. And so by finding creative ways to get our ultimate influencer involved on the call, we will de-risk leaving the whole campaign up to our influencer selling the technology internally to the decision maker who may not sign off. This is also more efficient than having your influencer having to remember every piece of data and re-explaining things at a later date. The quicker you can get up the ladder, the better feedback you can get on your proposal. I've even had times as a rep where I've pitched my leadership to talk to their upper leadership to have what we call an eagle-to-eagle conversation. And by getting in front of the right person, we were able to extract the right questions we needed to get the deal done. With all my influencers, I like to understand where they work in the organization, who they report to, who's involved in their technology procurement process, and what their internal team values most on a project similar to what we're working on. We don't need to over-rotate, but understand there are some key differences between influencers and C-levels in the companies you work with.